Some houses groan, some breathe, and some whisper your name from the basement. It was 3:17 a.m. when the emergency line lit up. The voice on the other end was trembling, barely audible above the static. A whisper, broken and panicked. It keeps calling, but there's no one down there. The operator asked her to repeat herself. She didn't. She just stayed on the line, repeating her own name, as if trying to remember it. She wasn't the first. Northwood, New Hampshire. A house with a long memory. Renters came and left. One lasted a weekend. Another disappeared altogether. Family flees home after disturbing discovery. Beneath floorboards. Unsolved mystery in Northwood. The basement voice returns. A house that changed owners 9 times in less than 15 years. One owner took their life in the kitchen. Another claimed their child spoke to someone who wasn't there. Someone they said lived under the stairs. The town knew something was off, but no one said it out loud. In 1973, a 9-year-old boy named Caleb Venner vanished without a trace. He was last seen by his mother, walking toward the basement door. She remembered hearing him say, "He said I could see the puppy if I come downstairs." They never saw Caleb again. His case remains open. No witnesses, no blood, no struggle, just the boy's shoes, sitting by the top step of the basement, neatly placed side by side. The house was sold again in 1981, then again in 85, and again. Each time, a new story emerged. A woman who claimed to hear her name sung from the vents. A child who cried every night at 2:14 a.m., but didn't remember why. A couple that installed motion sensors, only to have the lights flick on and off while they slept. In 2025, Erin Caldwell, 32 years old, school counselor, recently divorced, moved in after answering a listing on a local rental site. She wanted quiet. She wanted a fresh start. She got a 2-bedroom for a price she could afford. The only condition, the landlord told her, "Don't worry about the basement. It's just sealed for insurance reasons. There's nothing down there." On her first night, Erin's dog, Scout, refused to enter the hallway where the basement door was. He would sit facing it, growling, no matter the time of day. She laughed it off. At first, then came the knocking. Faint, slow, not on the front door, from beneath the floorboards. She recorded the sound. We obtained permission to play it here. This is what Erin heard at 2:43 a.m., 4 days after moving in. It knew her name. It always did. She spoke to the neighbors. They wouldn't talk about the house. One closed their door before she could even finish her sentence. Another simply said, "You're the 5th one that I know of." And then he walked away. Inside the attic, Erin found an old cardboard box. Inside were personal belongings, none of them hers. Old photos, a Polaroid of a boy, a cassette tape labeled only for whoever moves in next. The tape was blank, or so it seemed, until one section filled with static slowly morphed into a voice. The voice called to her in the tone of her mother's, then her ex-husband's, then her own. That's when Erin stopped sleeping. Erin Caldwell was looking for quiet. At 32, recently divorced, she was exhausted from the pace of city life, the relentless noise, and the steady weight of other people's needs. She'd been a school counselor for nearly a decade. The job, she said, taught her how to listen, especially to people who were afraid to speak. Her rental search ended in Northwood, New Hampshire, a town with fewer than 5,000 residents, farmland, ponds, woods thick enough to swallow sound. The listing was short. No pictures of the basement, just quiet 2-bedroom with large yard, pet-friendly, available immediately. She didn't hesitate. The house was modest, 2 stories, weather-worn siding, the kind of place you drive past without noticing. But for Erin it was enough. The landlord met her once, gave her the keys and mentioned only one thing. "Don't worry about the basement. It's just for storage. The lock's old. Don't mess with it." She assumed it was filled with tools or forgotten furniture. She never asked why it was bolted from the outside. The house was cold, even in July. The thermostat worked. The vents blew warm air. but the hallway by the basement stayed cold always. Her dog, Scout, a gentle old retriever, wouldn't go near that hallway. He would walk to the edge, stare down the narrow corridor toward the basement door, then back away. Sometimes he'd growl quietly. Sometimes he would just sit and watch it for hours. She took a video, posted it online with the caption, "My dog is scared of a door that doesn't open." Weird. But the second time, Scout urinated on the floor. She cleaned it, apologized to him, but the dog wouldn't go near that hallway again. Not even when she tried to lure him with food. He slept by the front door instead. 4 days after moving in, Erin was unpacking in the living room. She'd turned on a small Bluetooth speaker. White noise, rain sounds, the kind she liked to play while she worked. Suddenly the track glitched. The noise stopped, and for 4 seconds, there was only silence. Then a whisper, soft, faint. It sounded like her assumed it was a bug. But later that night, she heard it again. Not from the speaker, from the floor. It was muffled, like someone speaking beneath her feet. The house didn't have central air. There were no vents in that room, no crawl space beneath the living room, just the basement, sealed by a door at the end of the hallway. She called the landlord, left a message asking if someone had been accessing the basement from outside. No reply. She called again. Still nothing. Then the dreams began. She dreamt of being underground, of wooden steps that never stopped, of someone whispering just ahead of her, out of reach. Sometimes it was her mother's voice. Sometimes it was her own. One night, she woke to find Scout barking at the wall between the kitchen and the basement hallway. Not growling, barking full, deep, frantic. He wouldn't stop until she physically picked him up and brought him to her room. He trembled until dawn. She started recording the hallway at night, set her phone on a chair. Just audio, hours of nothing, until one night, 2:17 a.m., she caught a voice. She posted about it on a small paranormal subreddit, asking if anyone had ever experienced something similar. A user replied, "I lived in a place like that once. If it knows your name, leave." I didn't. I still hear it in new places. A few nights after the first whisper, Erin was asleep in bed when she heard it again. A single word, drawn out from behind that locked basement door. Erin had. The sound was low, wavering. It stopped as suddenly as it began. At first she blamed stress, sleep deprivation, residual anxiety from the divorce. But once, and again a few nights later, it returned, this time louder, more extended. Erin Hyan, Erin Hyan, each repetition softer, but with weight. Erin set up her phone recorder next to the door. She left it running that night. The recording captured hours of silence. Until roughly 3. Fans of Reddit's r/r Paranormal have described similar encounters. Voices in empty basements calling out transient names. One user wrote, "I hear hey, coming from downstairs." I jutted up the last steps and slammed the basement door closed. That was the moment the unknown becomes unnerving, and the listener wonders who or what is speaking. Erin played the recording to her landlord. He paused the message, then replied, "I told you there's no one down there." She asked neighbors. They closed their doors. One simply said, "You're the 5th person I've seen moving in, and asking." She left it at that. In the attic, Erin uncovered something startling. Old newspapers stacked beneath floorboard. One clipping dated November 1973, read, "Local boy vanishes. Last seen heading into Caldwell basement." The photograph showed a pale-faced 9-year-old's small brown shoes tacked beside a step just inches from the basement door. The child was never found. Online archives confirm a case open since 1973. New Hampshire State Police, noting the boy disappeared after telling his mother, "He told me he'd show me the puppy if I came downstairs." That's where the trail ended. Erin felt the weight of. She wasn't just hearing whispers. She was connected to a history, stretching back 5 decades. A series of voices, names called in the dark. Each repeat of Erin seemed to echo the memory of another voice, once lost. After nights of whispers and restless sleep, Erin began to dream again, and again, of a small space, dimly lit, with unpainted wooden walls, a boy, bound and huddled, weeping for release. She never saw his face, but her chest tightened with his panic. 2 mornings ago, she woke in a cold sweat to find the basement door, bolted shut just hours earlier, hanging open. There was no reply when she called her landlord. His voicemail picked up, again. In the hallway, the air felt heavier, like the deep end of a pool. She turned the knob, old iron, stubborn, and pushed it open. Beneath her feet was a staircase, wood rotten near every tread. Each step sank underfoot. The smell hit her next earth, wet and cold like rain-drenched soil, and something else, sweet decay, like old flowers in a sealed casket. She stopped halfway down. It sounded like her mother. She froze. She knew that voice, its precise tone before it flattened, lost in that forced mimicry. That mimicry is something documented on Reddit and TikTok. People describing homes where laughter cuts through the walls and voices you know call to empty rooms, only to reveal they aren't who they seem. One user shared, "I heard my mom calling me from the basement, but she was upstairs." Erin turned away. Her heart pounded in her ears. She fled up the stairs, stumbling over broken wood, nearly falling. She reinstalled a chain on the door. 3 locks this time. Left for the day. But no matter how far she walked, or how bright the sun shone, the voice followed, on her car radio, at the bus stop. Once she answered her phone to a voicemail. No message, just her own voice. "Come down, we're waiting." This was no longer just an old house with cold air and old floorboards. It was an invitation, a trap, one built to lure her back downstairs. 20 years, 3 tenants vanished without explanation. One left quietly, only their car abandoned in the driveway. Another simply stopped answering calls. The third was never heard from again. The disappearance that chilled her most, a voicemail, left by tenant number 2, recorded just before they moved out. Their voice trembled, calm on the surface. "I know how it works now. It sounds like someone you love, but it's not. Don't listen." Then silent. Erin tracked down a retired detective, James Collier, who'd handled one of the early disappearances, a mimicry of their own mother, partner or child. Each time they followed it, and each time they never fully returned. A shadow flitting past a window. Doors she was certain she had locked, found unlocked. Still she filed it all as stress. But then she checked her phone. Outside the house, in her car, public spaces, whispers were recorded again. The voice said nothing new, just her name. "I heard my own voice calling me." Electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, are often reported where recordings reveal words not heard in real time. These snippets, short fragmented surface, with no visible source, then vanish almost as quickly. Erin's sleep vanished. So did her appetite. She stopped returning friend calls, stopped going out after dark. Even during daylight, she looked around her with new caution. But seeing the waveform, hearing the clear pronunciation of her name, she couldn't ignore it anymore. This house had followed others, called them by name, and left them forever. But then, the voice changed. "Erin, come down." The voice wasn't a stranger now. It was her own. It called her name at 2:34 a.m., full volume, without hesitation, a confidence not heard before. She panicked. She pulled every chain, bolted the door, left the house, drove to a friend's home, packed a bag, left Scout behind. At 4 a.m., Erin's friend heard a knock, not at the front door, from the guest room floor vent. "Help me, I'm still in the basement." They both froze. The sound ceased. The friend didn't stay the night. She dropped Erin off at dawn. At 10 a.m., Erin returned. The basement door stood open, the chains broken. Scout was gone. There, in the dust, was Scout's paw print, muddy, a single trail, heading into the basement. And then, none coming back. The paw prints ended at the threshold. No return path. Like he disappeared into the house. Erin collapsed on the floor. She had nothing left. No dog, no strength, no certainty. She packed her belongings. She sold the car, and she never spoke about it again. But one piece of evidence remained behind. The camera, plugged in but unlabeled, continued to record. Days later, Erin's friend accessed the footage. At 12:14 a.m., the door begins to open. No sound of a latch, no step, just motion. The figure wears Erin's clothes, that same one Erin fled from. The same one Scout vanished with. How does a figure emerge, wearing someone else's identity? Security cameras have caught the unexplainable before. One Reddit user described hearing voices through a Nest camera. Voices that didn't belong to anyone at home. No one had accessed the app. No logical source at all. What the camera captured that night is more than evidence. It's a warning.